down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
All right, here we are with the Savvy Radio Show, back in the studio with one of my favorite guests, Pat Pointon. We're going to talk about some more private money. That's the big thing. You want to get in real estate, but you have no money. Well, there's tons of money out there, not only from your relatives, but from just Joe Schmo on the street. They need a return on their hard-earned cash that they have sitting in the bank, and they need someone like you, the real estate investor, to make that money work for them. They're only getting less than 1% in the bank. So to recap, you advertised, not really advertised, but you got the word out about doing a showcase of how to use other people's money, basically to be partnerships with other investors, to come to an office space or to a luncheon or even on a couch. You're going to sit down and someone's like, yeah, I heard about you and that you're in real estate and I have some extra cash and I would love to invest with you. So now we're here with Pat. We're going to talk about how to do a presentation. And let's just go over some mechanics of it before we get and dive in.
Okay.
Have you heard the term, obviously, have a credibility kit?
Sure.
Okay. Let's go. You kind of need a credibility kit before you can get rolling. So tell people what a credibility kit is.
Well, for me, a credibility kit is usually pictures of some of my properties.
Okay.
In my case, I carried an 8.5 by 11 notebook full of pictures, 8 by 10 pictures of properties.
Okay.
And some of those would show interiors and men working on them and what have you. Along with that, I would often have a copy of a check where I had sold a property and it showed what I made.
Okay.
And also a HUD-1 settlement sheet showing what the property sold for, what I paid off some other investor, and what was left for me. And I would explain to them that, I'm not doing this in a benevolent way. I'm making a living at this, and I am invested in this deal just like you are. I've invested sweat, effort, and whatever money's beyond whatever you loan me to make this deal fly. And so I'm doing this so I can make $15,000 or $20,000 when I sell it, as evidenced by these items that I have here, both pictures and settlement statements and copies of the check from the title company and so forth.
Okay.
The reason for that,
okay, keep going. Sorry.
I'm trying to get it so that you, the new person considering me, can see that I know how to do this. Now, generally, I will have a copy of my note and my mortgage in there with the names not filled in so that they can see what the documents look like.
Okay.
And
so you're basically assuming the sale.
Oh, yeah,
or
absolutely.
Assuming the opportunity.
I'm trying to go in there and show them what I would do and how I would do it,
okay,
and how it would work for them. And then in the back of my kit, I will usually have the equity trust documents that are necessary for you to move your IRA money from where you have it on deposit now to equity trust, which is where you can loan it on real estate.
Okay. So the majority of the private money that you receive, is it from IRA or?
Oh, yeah, probably 60%.
Okay.
Maybe 70.
Now, you mentioned earlier to show cashier's checks of profit that you have in flipping a property per se. Do they ever say, hey, I want a percentage of that? Has anyone ever brought that to your attention?
Well, sure. There's people who want everything.
Okay.
Now, I don't do that.
So,
now, I might do it in certain circumstances, but I have not done it so far.
Well, you don't need to.
Normally speaking, I go back to the saying, you've heard me say it before, SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Somebody's waiting.
Sure.
So when they start dictating what they want, they are not the person I'm looking for.
Sure.
The person I'm looking for will let me set the terms if I'm reasonable, and will work within the format that I've already laid out. Whenever they want to start varying the format,
right, deviating from the plan,
then I don't accept that as a rule. Now, I had a guy come down from Tulsa one day and asked me come for breakfast. He'd heard me on the radio and he'd talked to me a time or two. And he said, I've got $2 million, but you're going to have to, I brought my attorney, you're going to have to let him write the mortgage and the notes and everything the way I want them,
right? Or
I won't loan to you. And I said, well, I wish you'd have told me this up front, because you could have saved yourself a trip down here, and the best I'm going to do is apologize to you for for wasting your time and buy you breakfast, because your attorney's not writing the deal. My attorney's writing the deal. It's my deal.
So what happened on that situation?
Well, he walked. I never did any more business with him.
Well,
I wasn't going to do any more business with him because he was about controlling everything.
Okay.
He would have had me sign my life away and my kids' lives away and no telling what.
Sure.
Well, he thought I was desperate and needed the money, I suspect. I don't know. But he was too much of a shark for me to be interested in doing business with him.
Okay.
I want to do business with people who just need to invest their money in something safe, secure, with a nice return.
Makes sense.
That's the only people I'm looking for. And if you're somebody different than that, Stephen, I wish you only the greatest, but I need to move on.
All right. So, people like to hear the word guarantee.
I do not guarantee. That's a word that gets you in trouble.
Sure.
However, we're about as close to a guarantee as you can humanly be, because you're secured by a mortgage on a single-family home.
Right.
Now, if that home has the value that we say it has,
Okay.
it's nearly impossible for you to lose, but I'm not going to guarantee it. I'm going to let the home guarantee the loan. I'm not going to guarantee it.
Okay.
But I've never seen it fail unless you overfinance the property. Now, you buy a $40,000 property and put a $100,000 loan on it, it's not going to be able to guarantee much.
Sure.
You buy a $40,000 property, and when you're finished, it's worth $60,000, and the guy loans you $40,000, he's pretty fixed.
Yeah.
Because it's worth $60,000.
No, I got it.
So while I'm not writing a personal guarantee of any kind, it has more guarantee than stocks and bonds have.
No, I understand. The question is because people like the word guarantee. They're insecure about loaning money to some stranger.
Well, there are no guarantees in the investment business.
No, I understand that.
Bonds people,
but I mean,
they won't guarantee you anything.
I see a check. If I'm looking devil's advocate here. I'm on the cross table.
Sure.
I have $100,000, and I see this great. I heard you on the radio. You sound great. Everything looks great. These photos look great. And then I see this big check for $20,000. Well, my first inclination is like, I'm taking the risk. I'm putting the money up. Okay, that's fine. And I've heard people do like returns, like hedge funds or big funds that do real estate trusts and stuff like that, and they kind of give the illusion that there's a guarantee. I was just curious to see if people ask you for a guarantee, and if they do, what's your objective, or how do you handle that?
Well, I handle it pretty much just like I told you. I said, well, the guarantee is in the fact that we're not overfinancing a good single-family home.
That's it.
Your guarantee is in the fact that you need to, if you really want to do anything, give me $300, and I'll have it appraised before you do the thing.
Sure.
And that's as good a guarantee as I know to give you. But as far as any personal guarantee from me,
right,
you will not receive one.
Okay. I got it. I understand. I was just
if
curious.
If I've got to give a personal guarantee, Stephen, I'll go to bank.
Okay. So let's talk about, all right, we're at this meeting. There's several people. You do your presentation and got your slides. Then what should I expect as a lender and you as the presenter? Walk me through this whole presentation.
Well, normally what will happen at this presentation is there'll be anywhere from 10 to 100 people show up. I don't think I've had any more than about 100 people.
Wow.
I've had 15 or 20 or 30 lots of times. But of those, there'll only be 4 or 5 that are likely to be serious.
Okay.
But that's okay. If one of them loans you $50,000 and you only need to borrow $50,000, you had 100%. You see what I'm saying? You won't go and get $1 million committed to you in a meeting. You'll get 4 or 5 investors who will give you a minimum amount of money to see how it all works.
Right, and then it's like
generally they'll find some more money later on.
All right,
But anyway, we'll have the presentation. We'll do the slide portion. We'll open it up for questions, and then we'll say, any of you all that would like to have a one-on-one consultation with either me or one of my associates, please step to the back of the room there and fill out a little thing so we can contact you, where we got a phone number or whatever for you. And the rest of you, it was great that you came. Stay around, ask questions, meet each other, whatever, and I try to keep the presentation down to about 30 minutes, and then the question and answer session to 5 to 15 minutes. And then I try to give 5 or 10 or 15 minutes for me to meet the people that really have some interest.
Okay.
And I'm shooting there for a one-on-one meeting with them to show them some actual property.
Okay. So this is basically to pre-qualify them. It's like a hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
We
exactly.
do some sort of advertising, some sort of marketing per se,
there,
letting people know
we're coming there.
So let's just paint the picture. I got a PowerPoint presentation on the screen. I go, "Hi, I'm Steve Van Kallenberg. I'm the Savvy Landlord. I do a radio show with you, and I'm in seeking. I get a lot of people that ask me about wanting to invest. Here's a great way to invest. Exactly. I have a project going down right now.
Here's pictures of it. Here's what I'm looking to do.
This is my ROI.
Yeah.
Now, and this is a safe investment because it's backed by real estate. I'm looking for an investment of $30,000 or $50,000.
In my presentation, I usually try to explain to them the differences.
Okay, tell me. Let's talk about that.
Well, the differences can be fairly lengthy. There's 3 or 4 different kinds of property out there I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
One is collateralized versus non-collateralized.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Banks almost exclusively loan on collateralized property. You want to get a car loan, you bring the car down. They look at the car. They have a book that tells them how much they'll loan on that car, and they make you a loan.
Okay.
If you fail to pay, the car becomes their property, which they will sell and try to recover their money. Mm-hmm. Plus, they'll come against you for anything they don't collect.
Judgment.
But that's a collateral. There's something besides your good word. What a banker is saying to you is, Stephen, we believe in you or we wouldn't be having this conversation. However, we want you to put up something besides your good word before you get our money. Now, non-collateralized investments are stocks and bonds is a classic example. You buy American Airlines stock, and forgive me for using American, I just picked somebody out of the air. I don't mean anything to anybody. You don't have a lien against their office equipment or their accounts receivable or any company trucks or any airplanes or nothing.
That's right.
You have a piece of stock.
Piece of paper.
If it goes up in value, great. If it goes down in value, too bad. But that's all you have. You're along for the ride with no options whatsoever.
Correct.
And that's a non-collateralized investment. Now, bonds are pretty much the same way. The only difference is they tend to give you a percentage yield on a monthly or quarterly basis, which stock generally does not, unless it does a dividend. And I don't want to get into stocks and bonds. We're not trying to do that. But they are classics of people investing in non-collateralized investments.
And no work either.
Well, no work, but no collateral.
Sure.
And what we're offering you is no work.
But with collateral.
With collateral. Biggest difference in the world, and stockbrokers will always tell me how good their stuff is. They always shut up when we talk about collateral.
Okay, so that's a great point. So now this individual that has the lender, let's call them individual that has money, they don't even think that way.
Yeah, they don't know what these differences are.
So you kind of have to educate them about collateral and the point of it.
Absolutely, that's what you're doing at the seminar.
Okay,
and you say, here's a picture of this house at 921 Southeast 15th Street, or let me use one I really own, 7202 Southeast 15th. Here it is.
Okay.
It's probably worth $65,000 in its present condition.
Okay.
I'm looking to borrow $40,000.
Against it.
Against that house. I will give the person who loans the money a first mortgage. Now, first is an important word in the mortgage. It means you are number one.
That's right.
You get your money whether anybody else does or not. Mm-hmm. Now, let's assume that for whatever reason, I'm unable to pay you back.
Okay.
By Oklahoma law, you can foreclose that property because you're in first position. Anybody in second mortgage or anywhere else, they just lose. The only way they can protect themselves is to pay you off. So any way it works, you get your money back. You end up with the house. Now, let's say you end up with a house by right of foreclosure. That will cost you around $1,400, $1,500 to go through the legal steps. But now the house is owned by the IRA or owned by you, depending on where the money came from, and you own it. Now, the renter can stay in it. He can make his payments to you.
Right.
And the renter that I had in it will say, like in 7202's had a renter in it for years. My point is that renter is not being moved because we're foreclosing. He's just sending his payments to somebody else instead of me. Now, let's say that you don't want to be a landlord.
True.
You give the renter 30-day notice to move, and he moves. You call up your local realtor, whoever it might be, and you say, go out there and list that property and put a sign on it. So the realtor goes out, he does a market analysis, he says it's worth $62,750 or whatever he says. You say, fine, it sells. You pay the realtor 6%.
Okay.
Now you're down to $59,000. Now you had that $1,400 to get it back in your name, so now you're down to, let's say, $58,000.
Okay.
And you only owed me $40,000, so you got $18,000 for your trouble.
Right.
That's the difference in collateralized property and non-collateralized property.
For us as an investor, that's like apple pie. I mean, great, I'll loan you money, and if you default, boom.
Yeah.
But for the 80-year-old lady, the 7-year-old lady that's like needs this income, now she's dealing. I mean, that's the risk that she would have to say.
Okay, but let's look at her risk. She needs the income no matter what she does.
True.
If she puts it at the bank on CDs, she's getting a couple of percent.
No, less than one.
I'm not trying to argue the actual number.
No, I know.
It's
just
a teeny
teasing.
tiny number.
Yeah, it's not even worth the time.
Okay, if she buys stock, it doesn't pay her anything anyway unless she buys preferred stock, and then it's paying maybe 2-3%.
Right.
If she buys bonds, they may be paying her 6% or 7%, and she's paying taxes on it.
If there are available.
If they continue to be profitable, and they can go up and they can go down, and everything can change on them. I'll tell you an interesting story about bonds if you remind me just in a minute.
Okay.
But at any rate, you can have all of those things happen to you pretty easily. Now, with real estate, she has this hassle of having to take it back.
Right.
But it's not a very big hassle. Here's what she can do. Let's say she wants to rent it. She calls a property management company, enters an agreement with them, and they take care of it for her.
And then she doesn't think about it ever again.
That's pretty much it.
10%.
Now, on the other hand, let's say she wants to sell it. She calls a realtor, and they list it and sell it, and she doesn't really have to deal with anything again except to sign the contract and show up at closing.
All right. So
now, as far as getting it in her name, what she has to do is go to a foreclosure attorney, such as Mike Brogan is a well-known one in Oklahoma City. Write him a check. Bring him your mortgage. You won't have to do a living thing.
No, I love attorneys. It's
as simple as it seems complicated because you've never done it. It's not very complicated, and anybody, including the 80-year-old woman, can do 90% of it on the telephone.
Okay, so let's just get back to this meeting. What kind of objectives that people have? What things should I memorize or prepare for?
What I want to teach people in this coming seminar
on the 25th
is how to
June.
get from thinking about it to trying to get some.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm your
That's
perfect
climbing over the fence is what I
people
call it.
here.
You need to figure out, do I need some business cards that explain this pretty neatly? Yes.
Will you bring all this stuff?
No, I will help you write one or whatever. Are you
going to bring examples on the class?
Yeah, I'll bring some examples of things that
Come
people
on
have
now.
used. I make up a little brochure. Kind of I print on my own printer, but on nice paper. I usually make up some handouts for people at the meeting that cover the bullet points again in writing, because some people are better to read it than hear it. Or maybe they go home and can't remember exactly what I said, and so they read it. And I use those handouts. As far as the letter for direct mail, I haven't used direct mail in quite a while. I don't have anything very current, but I think we can probably write something up that would be satisfactory. And then you go to a list broker and buy a list of people that you think fit the demographics to have money. I think we touched on that briefly in one meeting, but you don't want 18 to 25-year-olds that live in apartments. They don't have any. Sure. They're not your people.
I agree.
You need 50 to 75-year-olds that have a $250,000 or greater net
and they're
worth.
frustrated.
Well, they're the people that might have some money to invest and may be getting no return on that money.
Okay.
And then you have them in different geographic areas. Now, let's say that your mom and dad are in their mid-60s and they're, they don't drive too much at night or whatever. So you hold one in Norman, they might not come if they live northwest, even though they had some interest. So you need to have a meeting maybe in Norman, and then a couple weeks later have one northwest, and maybe have one in Edmond occasionally, and so that people don't have to travel a huge distance to come to the meeting.
Okay.
And, of course, you want anybody that has an interest to call you. I mean, they might read the thing and say, I can't make the meeting, but I'd like to know something about it. And then you just try to do a one-on-one. It's going to take a long-term commitment from people to switch over to private money. I mean, you have one seminar and 3 people show up and nobody loans you any money. It's not over with. It's the beginning.
It's just like real estate. And as an investor, I mean, you don't just have 100 houses overnight. It's just
no,
one
and you
at
don't
a time.
have 100 investors overnight. You get 4 the first year and 8 the second year and 20 the third year if you're working them.
Okay.
Because you're getting a lot of referrals from those 8 or 12 that you've already gotten.
So, again, I like to reiterate. So, I'm starting out I got to get organized. Got to get my credibility kit together. I got to be prepared.
Right.
And then I got to just start prospecting all the time, letting people know that I'm a real estate investor.
Everywhere you go, you need to tell people what you do. I show people how to get a
What's your 30
return.
seconds? What's your 30-second elevator speech?
If you're not satisfied with how your money's working for you, I can show you how to put your money to work, and it'll make you from 6 to 12% interest, depending on what it is and where it is, and it'll be secured by real estate.
Okay, great. Here's one.
I need to get off, but if you want, here's my card. Call me.
Okay.
And once in a while, people.
Here's one I heard the other day. What I do is get people return on their money. Just real simple. I mean, I'm a real estate investor, and I help people get a return on their money.
A safe, secure return on their money.
A safe, secure. I mean, just real simple. It's like 10 seconds.
That's excellent. I would print that on the back of my business cards.
Okay.
I'm a real estate investor. I help people that have money that isn't working. I put it to work, and I give them a safe, secure investment. And I put something to that effect on the back of the business card.
Okay.
I would also print up a little, like I said, trifold brochure that'll tell them a lot more. And I would put it up, and I would carry them in my briefcase, in my suit coat pocket, wherever, and I would hand them out
just pass them out
cards.
and you just never know where you're going to get funding.
I don't care if she's a waitress at Chili's. If she wants to know what I do, I want her to know.
Because she may know somebody else.
Well, her mama may have $10 million for all we know.
Okay.
I mean, you do not know who will have money. And it may be people that you wouldn't think of. For instance, we had a lot of GM workers that were plant workers. And when the plant closed, a lot of them got early retirement and got lump sum settlements from GM for their early retirement at somewhere between $50 and $250 a person.
Right.
And they've got those in IRAs that are probably earning them all at 2%.
Is there certain?
You may have a blue collar guy that you think of as a car repair guy or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't have some early retirement or some inheritance or some oil money or who knows.
So there's tons of prospects out there.
Sure.
Just let's veer off for 1 second. You know, I was reading a IRA money book or whatever, how to invest your IRA, self-directed IRA. That's it, self-directed IRA. And some companies, have you run into this? That some companies won't allow people to convert their IRA over to a self-directed IRA.
Sure.
Have you? How do you handle that one?
You transfer it to somebody else and then transfer it again.
Okay. So transfer.
And how dare they not let you?
Oh, I agree.
What I'm getting at, you're just the custodian. As an IRA company, I'd say I'm going to sue you if you don't give me
No.
money
What I'm saying is like big corporations, like let's say GM.
Big corporation that with a 401k.
401k.
That's different than IRA.
Okay.
I think you got the two.
Okay,
crossed.
probably.
Now, what you do is like you take somebody like a huge corporation.
Okay.
And you've got a 401k with them. Often will not let you transfer the money out of a 401k.
Or into a self-directed IRA.
Okay, here's what I would do.
Okay, so how do I find? Okay, let's go into.
I'm
Someone
not
has
sure
$100,000 in a 401k, and they want to invest with me. How do I get that money?
That I can do this, but I'm just giving you an idea.
Okay.
Here's what I would try if I were that employee. I would say, well, I'd like to transfer it to somebody in the stock market, such as Fidelity.
Okay.
And see if they will allow that.
I think you can roll it. It's called a rollover.
Okay. Yes. And I think you'll be allowed to roll it. And then I'd roll it from Fidelity
over to Equity Trust
Equity
or
Trust
SunTrust.
Yeah, one of those. And that's how I would probably do it. Now, I'm not sure. There may be some restrictions. I'm not a 401k expert. Okay. That's more in the employment benefits law than anything I do. Often you can borrow money out of your 401k.
And then they can loan that to you. They're getting a better return than they are right now.
That's another way they can do it.
Okay.
And then I make a payment to them, and what would happen is they make a payment back to their company for 401k plan, paying off their note, which is usually at very cheap interest, and I'm paying them 6, 7, 8% interest, and they're paying 2% to the 401k in the company, and they're keeping 4 to 6% interest ahead of the game. Now let's take another thing. I teach people to structure the loan, and you can structure them a lot of different ways. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Well, a rental property, you're going to keep it a long time. Then you're going to make them a monthly payment, just like any mortgage company. Okay?
Okay.
But let's say you're going to do a house, you're going to flip it, you're going to sell it within 4 to 6 months. Well, you don't make any monthly payments.
Interest only.
Interest only, and you're going to make it, you're going to say it's a $50,000 loan at 6%, so in 6 months, I'm going to owe you $1,500.
Sounds right.
In a year, I'm going to owe you $3,000.
Okay.
And in the meantime, you're not having to fund this thing. You're working on it, you're selling it, you get paid, you pay them.
Okay.
Now, I'm doing a subdivision deal right now where I'm looking for $1 million worth of investors, and I'm paying the lot price will be $10,000, and then if I pay off a lot in the first year, I'll pay an investor $12,500. If I pay it off in the second year, I'll pay an investor $15,000. And if I pay an investor in the third year, he'll still get $15,000. But it won't be many by that. I mean, most of them will be sold in the first 2 years. But what it does, if let's say you had $100,000 with me and you got it all back in the first year, you'd have got $125,000.
25%?
That's what it would be. Now, that's higher risk stuff. That's subdivision property.
Okay.
Okay?
And this is a project that you're working on right now.
Yeah, it's an actual project I'm working on. If you got it back in 2 years, you'd have gotten $100,000, paid you $50,000. But the reason I'm doing that is I'm putting all the streets in, water and sewer in, and not doing any bank financing whatsoever, and no personal liability.
Well, how many lots?
339.
Times 10?
Huh?
It's 3-point-something million.
Yeah.
And so you're only seeking $1 million, a third.
I'm going to do a third of it at a time.
Okay.
I'm going to finish the first third, 100 lots.
Now, have you done this before?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if I do the first third, 100 lots, I'll sell them off. I won't do 300 lots and have them all sitting forever and ever and ever. I'll do 100 lots. I'll sell them off in 2.5, 3 years, and I'll pay the investors. I'll turn around and borrow the money again from those investors or different investors or from the bank or some combination, and I'll do the next 100, and then I'll do the next 100, and then I'll do the last 39 lots.
And you'll live large. All right.
Yeah.
So let's focus on the party or the presentation. So 10 people are there. 6 of them are not interested. 3 people or 4 people, whatever, fill out the form. Then I set up a meeting with them. And then I just go real specific into that specific deal. Bring the paperwork.
Yeah, maybe show them 2 or 3 deals. I mean, I might. In my case,
Do they choose?
I would take them and show them houses I've already done.
Okay.
This house right here. Here's the key.
Okay, so now we're driving with them. Okay, so we got the presentation.
Yeah,
then we set up a time with them.
Future appointment where we're driving them around.
Okay,
showing
so
them.
now we're physically going to the property. Now, so do you have this under contract?
A lot of times I do.
So you use your own money?
A lot of times for a contract I will. Yeah, I got a waiting list. I know I can finance it. Now, if I don't have a waiting list, here's what I do. I say, okay, this is one of 3 houses I'm trying to buy.
Okay.
And I can often get a realtor to unlock it for me because they won't sell it pretty bad. Even if we can't, they can walk around it, look in the windows and all. And incidentally, this is a house I already own, has a renter in it. Here's all the particulars on it. Here's how much it rents for. Here's a copy of the lease. Here's a copy where I bought it. Here's how much I spent on it.
That's a safe investment.
And I show you this house I already own. And I show you this house that I would love to put under contract today if I had a commitment
of money
from
from
somebody to loan me the money.
So if someone said, has people backed out and they've committed? Of course. I mean, I'm assuming.
Oh, sure they do.
But you still, you have no fear in this area.
Well, worst I can do is go to the bank and finance it.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, you already got.
That's the worst that will happen to me.
So your goal is always to try private lending first.
Oh, before I even talk to the bank.
Like I have a house on a contract right now, and I need to get it funded, but I don't have any brochures, I don't have any cards.
Well, there you go. You need that.
I need to get that ball rolling.
That's right, and you need to find somebody to talk to.
Yeah, I know. I was going to.
And that's the hard part. That is, no, make no mistake. That is the hard
I do
part.
need to talk to somebody.
And so you need to have somebody who has an interest.
Okay.
And has the money or has money.
So I need to pique their interest to create the interest into me, into what I'm doing,
right?
As a real estate investor.
That's right. Now you'll have 2 kinds of guys. You'll have the guy that's fascinated by what you do. That's kind of you and me.
Right.
You're kind of fascinated, but
With
you're
you.
not really going to loan me any money.
If I had a lot of
You don't have any.
Yeah, so I don't have any money to
tied
loan
up
you.
your own stuff, so you're not going to loan me any money.
True.
Now you're fascinated. Now if you were broke and only had no houses and were fascinated, that'd still be the same thing. You're not really a customer
of yours, sure.
Yes. Now you're very interested, but you're not really a customer. And then this guy over here is very interested, but he's got $50,000 in an IRA. He is a customer.
Okay.
See,
now,
so you got to kind of separate the two. Some of the people that come to your seminar will be people who are interested but really have no money. And then you'll have some people that come who have money and really.
Is there a way to distinguish them or to qualify them?
Well, you just have to ask them.
How much money do you have?
Oh, and what are you prepared to do? Now, whatever they tell you is probably not the fact. I've told you that before. But, I always say, I call it found money. Invariably, they all find more money than what they started out with.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, here's another question. I know an investor that I've come across, and he does use self-directed IRA himself. So he already understands that concept. What if I approached him? I mean, he has no houses in the pipeline, and I can say, hey, Mr. Investor, we've kind of know each other through the RIA. I know that you have a self-directed IRA already. Hey, I'm trying to fund this deal. I need $30,000.
Well, you could do that. People approach me that way all the time.
Okay. What do you mean?
Because I do it. They think, well, why don't you loan me some of your money or some of your investors, and I'll pay you.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I agree.
I'm not interested at all.
Well, brokering out your own investment.
And here's the reason. Okay, let's say that I've got an investor that I'm paying 6%.
Okay.
And he's got $50,000.
Okay.
And so I'm paying him $250 a month. Is what it amounts to if I'm paying him monthly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you come to me and you say, "Look, I'll pay you double that. I'll pay you 12% interest. Why don't you loan me that $50,000?"
For you yeah, I see.
Okay, well, hear me. Just like this was between us, okay? But it could be anybody, but I'm just giving you an example.
Okay.
I've got to say no, and here's why. You've tied up $50,000 that I can buy and sell 2 or 3 houses with this year for $3,000 of profit to me. You see what I'm saying? If I take that 50 and I buy a house in 90, 120 days from now, I sell it and make $10,000.
Right.
And I do that again twice or 3 times before the end of the year, I'll make $20,000, $30,000 on that $50,000. But instead, I loaned it to you, and you're going to pay me double what I'm charging in interest, but I ain't making but $3,000. But you kept me from doing 2 or 3 deals.
Well, the only reason why that'd be attractive if you had tons of private lending and you don't have enough deals, and
if I had $50 million worth of it, maybe. But when I have $1 million or $2 million that I can tap at any given time, I don't want it going to somebody else.
Well, you're still doing all the work. I mean, I understand the white collar world was just moving paper around. Hey, I'm borrowing it at 6% and I'm lending it at 12%.
That's all good if you're doing $100 million, but if you're doing
because it's little money,
$100,000, you ain't making anything. You'd be better off to put your own money in your own deals.
I agree with that because it's just the risk is greater too, and if you fumble,
you got to make it good for them and all
and
that.
If that
but
guy,
here's the thing: like that, $50,000 didn't earn me but $3,000
for the year.
For the year, and that's it. If you paid me 12% and I paid them 6%, see what I'm saying?
No, I got it.
And that's user's interest rate, but it still doesn't make me anything. Now,
right.
At $50,000, how many houses can I buy if I turn them over?
No, I agree.
I do 2 houses. How much do you think?
$30,000. You just explained it.
Yeah, I can do at least 20.
Or you said 3 times.
I say, but I can do it at least twice and make 20. That's for sure. Very conservative. Well, I make 3,000 or I make 20,000, which is better for me.
Plus, you're paying the private lender off, and he's going to want to loan you again because you got a return.
Well, either way,
you're moving money.
You paid him off, if you paid me and I paid him off, he's happy. If I pay him and pay him off, he's happy. The difference is I'm $17,000 short.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't work. And I've had people say, "I just don't understand. You raise money all the time. Why can't you loan me 50 or 100 grand?" Well, it's because it costs me money to loan you money. Now, I guess if I were huge and had $1 billion, then the spread would be fine. But on the deals I do, the profit on the real estate transaction is far greater than the interest.
Well, I'm not trying to convert you, but say that young investor goes out and finds a $100,000 deal, only needs $40,000. He fumbles, defaults. I mean, it's a headache, but hey, you got another asset.
Well, that's true if that happens.
Right.
Now,
but it's just a whole new business model.
He succeeds. He's got a great deal, or I wouldn't loan him the money. It works.
True.
He makes money, and I make a little bit.
No, I understand.
And that
I
just doesn't do it for me.
It's just interesting because there's some people that are gifted in raising private money, and it's just like almost like I know a gal, her, that she borrows money on her HELOC at 3-4%, and she loans it out for 12 months at 8-10%. It's a little
not making anything.
I know.
She thinks she is, but she's not.
Right, but she's taking the risk.
In theory, she's not making much.
No, I understand.
She could do one transaction with the money out of her HELOC and make more money than all of that.
No, just different business models.
Well, everybody's thinks those things work, and they work if you've got enough volume. That's one of those things. If you have enough economy of scale, that'll work. If you have no economy of scale, which small investors like me
and they're
don't,
just starting out.
Well, even if you got $1 million, that's no money in the money business. I mean, a little bank will have $100 million to loan, where I have $1 million or $2 million that I've borrowed. I'm peanuts to the financial community, but it's a lot of money when I'm buying houses with it. I can literally raise more money than I can find good deals.
All right, that's good. We're going to continue on here in the next episode, but Man, Pat, we can go for days on end. Money is fascinating. Private lending is fascinating. If you enjoyed this podcast, definitely come to our class, which is June 25th, Thursday. Go to okcclass.com and find out more details. It's 7 o'clock. It's going to be a party. We're going to go through this whole process and hopefully get you the ability and the knowledge to go out and borrow money. Pat, it's been a pleasure. I'm stoked. We're going to do it again. Thanks for coming out.
You're welcome.